The PTSD of Adi Purush is so real that no one is willing to accept anything until they watch the glimpse for themselves. But I must say that after watching this glimpse, I immediately thought that the cast and crew must be reacting like this.
We did it! We did it! We did it! We did it!
We as the Indian audience have gone through a spectrum of emotions regarding Ramayana and its several iterations. To consider it to be a whirlwind would be an understatement. On 16 June 2023, most optimists went to theatres to be fully immersed in the adaptation of Ramayana written by Valmiki, titled Adi Purush. This was a film that promised to be the pride of our nation, being touted as the pan-Indian project that will do justice to the sacred text, boasted by the makers as having given their heart and soul to the project. Extremely vocal about the effort and level of detailing that has gone into making it a reality. What we got, however, was a poor excuse of a filmmaker piggybacking off of the success of his previous film, a writer who seemed too pompous for his own good, and a final product that seemed abysmal both from a writing and technical point of view. This heartbreak for most people was nothing short of a scam. It actually made audiences lose complete faith that Hindi cinema is capable of providing an epic that will both be reminiscent of the popular TV series that we grew up with and also a technical spectacle ideal to be watched by the global audience on the big screen. The Ramanand Sagar TV show is revered, and even for a new generation that got introduced to the show during the pandemic, the dated special effects and set work was inconsequential as the writing and acting performances were so sincere and effective. But who knew what would cement a really cool, slick and intricate detailing of the world of Ramayana would be an Indo-Japanese anime. The Doordarshan and Cartoon Network reruns were a must, and this carried on for more than a decade. What's hilarious is that Om Raut and Manoj Muntashar, the makers of Adi Purush, in their interview spoke about how a generation is obsessed with superhero films and how their rendition of the Ramayana is an aim to make those revered figures accessible for the younger generation. But what they failed to realize is that it was done close to 30 years ago. So when it was announced that DNEG with Namit Malhotra as the head responsible for the visual effects of most recent films like Dune, Brahmastra, Godzilla vs. Kong, Furiosa, Kalki, and several other films would be doing an iteration of the Ramayana, people were extremely curious, but justifiably with a tad bit of skepticism waiting in anticipation. The 3rd of July had me pumped, even though it's a mere title announcement and brief introduction to the world we will be transported to. But I have to say the reason for my excitement is not only because what is riding on the project, but the sheer scale that is being attempted. The film is not only investing heavily financially, it is being dubbed in several major languages globally, using AI tools where the characters are not merely dubbed, leading to a rather odd and misplaced product that we see today in pan-Indian films, but something that would be seamless in Hindi as it would be in Mandarin or Japanese. What I'm especially impressed about regarding what all I have been reading about with the production of this film is that this movie is scheduled for a Diwali 2026 release, and the shooting for part 1 is complete and part 2 will begin this year. In an era where most film productions are dealing with severe delays, only causing more problems to the final product, it seems like the makers of Ramayana have a laser focus approach in at least streamlining shooting and ensuring they have a clear release timeline in mind, knowing that pre and post-production work for such a monumental project is excessive. Let's talk about what we saw first, and let's be absolutely unfiltered on what we thought about this first look. I think it's like getting the Avengers together if you're bringing the expertise of A.R. Rahman and Hans Zimmer together for this epic. I was immediately drawn to the score that was associated with this first glimpse. It almost makes you anticipate the grand scale that is being attempted by the makers. The introduction reminded me of what Dharma Productions did with one of its first marketing materials for Brahmastra, which was titled The Vision of Brahmastra, where Ayan Mukherjee was providing us context about the world we will be transported to. Thankfully, rather than a director sitting down and explaining the world to us, through Ramayana's first glimpse, we understand the stakes already being the greatest story ever told. But also, because the narrative is not being spoon-fed to us, it beautifully showcases us through visuals of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiv, the trinity that ruled the three worlds. You know, when you are describing something as the war that ends all wars began, it should be associated with a score that makes you feel like the stakes are really high. And this is precisely what I felt through the glimpse. You can see the figures squaring off with one another, the battle between good and evil represented through their primary colors, and fitting their personalities perfectly in demeanor and expression. While Lord Ram is calm, Ravan is filled with anger. When the score transitions to the lyrics of Dharti Hai Ambar, I kid you not, I had goosebumps. An epic score and song created by maestros, making me believe that this album will truly be special. I'll be honest, I was slightly skeptical about A.R. Rahman because lately, especially with the work that he has done in movies like Chhawa and Thug Life, I found the work to be zany and eccentric for the theme of the films, sometimes rather abrupt regarding the way it popped up in the scenes too. I hope he's putting his best foot forward with this project. The man is an absolute legend, and I hope that Hans Zimmer and him are cooking something spectacular together. The makers have left no stone unturned in roping in a cast that has the entire country curious. You've got a Hindi film star like Ranbir Kapoor to play Lord Ram, an extremely popular actress like Pallavi playing Ma Sita, one of the biggest stars of the country Yash playing Ravan, and the supporting cast also boasts of talent that will surely leave an impression. You have Sunny Deol playing the role of Lord Hanuman, Ravi Dubey playing the role of Lakshman, Arun Govil, the popular figure who played Lord Ram in the TV serial, will play the role of King Dashrath. Indira Krishnan as Mata Kaushalya, Lara Datta as Kekai, Rakul Preet Singh is presumably playing the role of Surpanakha, and interestingly, Kunal Kapoor as Lord Indra. A star-studded but varied cast, which seems to also denote that the makers are not just trying to rope in stars to cash in on their popularity, but also strive towards appropriate casting. I was curious about whether the makers of this 3-minute glimpse will show us visuals from the film, and it genuinely looks spectacular. I think we suffer from such severe PTSD from Adipurush and the absolute mess we got to see from the first teaser that we are skeptical about anyone that touches Ramayana today, even if it is DNEG and Nitesh Tiwari at the helm of affairs. But both the sequences of Ranbir Kapoor as Lord Ram attacking with his bow and arrow and Yash as Ravan looking almost as if he's in disguise, I assume this is the point where he is about to abduct Ma Sita. I was convinced truly that we are in safe hands with this project. Even though Sridhar Raghavan as a writer has his ups and downs, having written most of the dialogues of the YRF spy universe, I hope he brings his A game to this film, because Manoj Muntashar with his abysmal writing that he did in Adipurush is still vivid in everyone's memory. A trilogy is being planned, making me assume that the first part will establish Ayodhya, the family dynamic, the order of the 14 Saal Ka Vanvas, and will end with Sita's abduction. The second part, I would imagine, will be Ram and Lakshman's pursuit of forming the army to Lanka, and the conclusion of the trilogy will be the long drawn out battle, essentially becoming like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. At least that will be the attempt. What's important to acknowledge are the several stories that are often left untold in different renditions, so for those who assume that the trilogy might be too stretched, the material is too dense for it to be effective over 3 movies. This is something that people felt with the narrative of Adipurush too, that it's far too big to be reduced to a mere feature film, making me genuinely so excited for this venture. It has so much riding on it. I hope they pull it off and this becomes the global blockbuster so that the international audience can be privy to this epic. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the first glimpse of Ramayana. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.